Hello, everyone. I got a notification. Well, this article found its way in my inbox. I subscribe to this black publication called the Moguldom Nation. Sorry if I pronounced it wrong. But they were talking about how the support from black Americans has declined for the Democrat. I'm going to briefly share a little bit of the article and the things that stood out to me, and then before I go into the content of my video. Here's the article. The Democrats have been slowly losing the support of black voters. Indicated by poll after poll, black voters have been feeling frustrated with and underappreciated by the party. And this doesn't bode well for President Joe Biden as he seeks re-election and is counting on black people to turn out and vote for him once again. Now, this is how I feel. The audacity and lack of respect for the black American community is ghastly. At this point, I'm wondering, because of the amount of abuse black people have accepted and tolerated from the Democratic Party, why do they feel like they should start showing black folks an ounce of respect or support now? It's gone on so long, the abuse and disrespect. And here are 7 facts that the article listed of why black Americans are stepping away from the Democratic Party. Point 1, broken promises from Biden. There was an expectation that many issues concerning the black community would be resolved. Biden has only delivered broken promises. Surprise, surprise. Number 2, turnout down for Biden. Black voters frustrated with the Democrats and unwilling to vote Republican have decided to just not vote. Point 3, Biden has seen approval rating dropped. Biden's approval has seen a dramatic drop among black Americans since he took office in January 2021, but it increased from 60% to 70% last year. Question. This is my question. What has he done for his approval rating to increase among black Americans? Even if it increased by 1%, my question is, what has he done and what has changed for the better? Has mass incarceration changed? Police brutality, community oppression, generational wealth that was stolen and intentionally destroyed, has it just suddenly reappeared for us? Just something to think about. 4th fact. Help or hinder. Biden's policies helped or hindered the black community. Here's one hindering issue. President Joe Biden's efforts to lessen American dependency on fossil fuels is killing American jobs that minorities depend on and driving up the cost of living. This is what a woman by the name of Donna Jackson says. Point 5. What the polls say for Biden. Some in the black community just don't want Biden to seek re-election. Point blank and the period. Number 6, no enthusiasm. Biden got off to a lackluster start in 2020 until black voters in South Carolina got behind Biden. But now the enthusiasm has worn off, says some observers. I guess we can thank black Carolinians. And that was said with all the enthusiasm that one can fit on the top of a sewing needle. If black Carolinas, from what I've read, if black Carolinas didn't jump in to support Biden, yeah, it would be a whole different turnout. I'm not for Democrats or Republicans. It's like a double-sided coin. It's like you get one and you got to deal with their issues in this party, and then you get another one, you got to deal with their issues in this. Black people need their own party, point blank, period. Okay, the last one is Biden is bleeding black backing. An NBC News poll discovered Biden's approval rating among black voters decreased the most, going from 83% last April to a low 64% currently. Another source says the percentage is lower than 64. Now, that is the little briefing of the article that I read. I want you to take a stroll with me back down memory lane. So we can find out why Black America would ever think that Biden would be the first Democratic president to be so kind as to actually give a care about your concerns, wants, or needs, and really put actions with the words. Why do you think he would be the first president to do it? I mean, you see what happened with Obama, but that's a whole different video, a whole different topic. Shall we continue? It all began when Black American men first obtained the right to vote after the passage of the 15th Amendment in 1870. Black men nearly all identified and supported the Republican Party and its candidates, rewarding the party of Lincoln for its commitment to ending slavery and expanding Black civil rights. After the Civil War, Congress acted to prevent Southerners from reestablishing white supremacy. In 1867, the radical Republicans in Congress imposed federal military rule over most of the South. Under U.S. Army occupation, the former Confederate states wrote new constitutions and were readmitted to the Union, but only after ratifying the 14th Amendment. This Reconstruction Amendment prohibited states from denying the equal protection of the laws to U.S. citizens, which included the former slaves. By 1869, amendments had been passed to abolish slavery and provide citizenship and equal protection under the laws. But the election of Ulysses S. Grant to the presidency in 1868 convinced a majority of Republicans that protecting the franchise of the Black male voters was important for the party's future. In 1870, the 15th Amendment was ratified. It stated that the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. I guess people in politics, local politicians didn't get the memo. No racism, period. When Mississippi rejoined the Union in 1870, former slaves made up more than half of that state's population. During the next decade, Mississippi sent 2 Black U.S. senators to Washington and elected a number of Black state officials, including a lieutenant governor. But even though the new Black citizens voted freely and in large numbers, whites were still elected to a large majority of state and local offices. This was the pattern in most of the southern states during Reconstruction. This part right here brings to mind the critical race theory, but I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. Here's a little side note. As you can see from the past, the plans to suppress Black male voters by Democrats was evident in Hamburg, South Carolina. The full voting strength of white South Carolina was still insignificant to win a fair election. According to an 1875 special state census, South Carolina has 74,193 white men over age 21 and 110,735 Black men over the age of 21. Those numbers are what brings to mind saying that Black America is still only 13% of the population. I've never believed that percentage, and here's a fact. In order to have any kind of factual number or anything that's a fact, this country would have to do a head count of every Black American in this country. Since I know that hasn't happened, 13% is a damn lie. And the reason why I say it hasn't happened is no one in good conscience can rely on the census, the U.S. Census, because many Black Americans do not take part of the census. So you're not getting an accurate count of Black Americans. You're not. And to keep saying 50 million years later that Black Americans only account for 13%, I will bet my last penny that is a lie. Now, the ones who I believe their count is possibly true are Europeans, because if you look at articles from around the country, the world, they're saying that a lot of Europeans are just dying at a rapid rate. So anyway, back to my content. The Republican-controlled state governments in the South were hardly perfect. Many citizens complained about overtaxation and outright corruption. But these governments brought about significant improvement in the lives of the former slaves. Back in the 1800s, they was complaining about corruption. So what you think is going on in 2000s? Just thought. For the first time, black men and women enjoyed freedom of speech and movement, the right of a fair trial, education for their children, and all the other privileges and protections of American citizenship. But all this changed when Reconstruction ended in 1877 and federal troops withdrew from the old Confederacy. I would like to put a pin in this and start back up in part 2. Thank you for your time, and I'll be back in 2 clicks.